Steve, my good man, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, fella. How are you?
I'm wonderful, my friend. How are you doing?
I am fine. We're still here. We survived the New Year antics.
That's it. Everyone survived New Year, and it's weird actually because it feels like it's been a really long time since we spoke and since we recorded, but it was like 2 weeks. But it's felt like a really long 2 weeks. It's weird how just missing 1 week. I'm so confused as to what's going on in the world right now.
Yes, yeah, I must admit, I did the same thing earlier. Sarah said to me the other day, she's like, "You recording with Tim tonight?" I was like, "It's Saturday? We never recorded on Saturday." We were just lost on what day it is. And then I got really confused last week. I was like, "What? Am I talking to Tim? Am I not talking to Tim?" I don't know what day it was. But it feels like an absolute age since we've spoken or recorded.
Yeah, it does, weirdly. But like we say, it's like 2 weeks.
It's only 2 weeks. We're still here. We're back in lockdown. Again.
Yes, locked down once more, sadly, here in the UK. I don't know about everyone listening and around the rest of the world and how your lockdowns are, but yeah, we are. Well, I mean, I'm sure some countries are better, some countries are worse.
It must be.
Basically, some of you have governments that have been dealing with this very well, and the rest of us do not.
No, we've got a very dithery fella.
One day, Steve, we'll just do Tim and Steve talk politics. That'll be an entire show.
Mate, we'd be here for a while.
Oh God, I think I'd end up just raging at the world. I'm angry enough when I think about it. I don't need to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, I do start getting ragey about it. I did the other day. I was like, seriously, just calm down. Just calm down. I was like, no, I bloody won't.
That's it.
Oh dear. But yes, we are back. New Year 2021.
Yeah, exactly. And I know as long as we avoid an alien invasion, chances are it's going to be better than last year. So
I'd look forward to an alien invasion.
Honestly, though, if an alien invasion happened, an alien invasion would probably be second only to a zombie apocalypse in maybe the best things that could happen to me this year.
See, I had so much time over the New Year, I did update my zombie plan.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yes, I did review it, sat down, I realised it was very outdated because I don't live at that old address.
I like to think you've got a big red folder somewhere that just says zombie plan printed across the front.
I know, mate, I got a whole survival room.
Ooh, that's what we like to hear. Happy days.
Yes, Enzo likes to go in there and play with the zombie killing stuff.
I mean, weirdly, I've been in your house and I feel like there's not a spare room kicking about anywhere, so I'm quite confused about this.
You see, zombie room's well hidden.
Oh, nice, I like it, that's great. I hope it's like behind a picture and you've got to crawl through a gap in the wall or something.
Under the conservatory floor.
Oh, that would be great.
Oh. Secret hidey hole.
But before we give away to everyone where you'll be hiding during the zombie apocalypse or alien invasion, depending on which comes first, shall we dive into our show?
Let's dive into our show. That's much more interesting.
Good stuff. So I'm Tim, he's Steve, and this is for the love of MotoGP. So we're coming to you today in the first of a series of shows that I'm going to be calling I haven't okayed this with Steve, I'm just going for it. I'm going to be calling the goodbye shows, in which we will be discussing the careers of outgoing riders this year. So we're going to be discussing the career of Andrea Dovizioso, of Cal Crutchlow, of Tito Rabat. People that aren't fully retiring from the world of motorcycle racing, but are retiring from the MotoGP grid, in theory. Dovi's taking like a year out, but probably going to retire, I think.
I don't think Dovi knows what he's doing yet.
No, that's fair. I don't think anyone really knows. Although I was reading on visordown.com that there's rumours that Honda could potentially run a 3-bike team again in 2021, so that they can have 2 riders battling out for the start of the year. And then when Mark is good to go, he can come back as the 3rd rider.
Yeah, I did read that as well. It's quite interesting. And I wouldn't be surprised if they went for something like that.
And yeah, because it would give... I mean, Dorna would have to okay it. But, to talk about these things in the conspiratorial manner, Dorna are a Spanish company. If Repsol being the Spanish oil giant, want to create a third bike on the grid to guarantee they can get Marc Marquez, the Spanish MotoGP world champion, onto a bike, I'm pretty sure Dorna will go for it.
I think the stars would align, and all of a sudden we'd see that triple header again, because it wouldn't be the first time we've seen 3 Repsol Hondas on the grid.
No, it wouldn't, and we'll get into that later in this show, Steve.
We certainly shall.
So this week we are going to be discussing the career of Andrea Dovizioso, and it will be our goodbye Dovi. So yeah, he might be back next year on a 3-bike Honda team, who may or may not be sponsored by Repsol actually next year. There were rumours that they might not be, weren't there?
Yes, there was a few rumours fluttering around the place that they might be parting ways, but I haven't heard anything about that since.
And actually, I sent you a link in an email earlier in which it was showing Pol Espargaro in Honda Repsol colours.
Yes.
And that was a fully Repsol liveried bike. So I assume that rumour that we've just spoken about is actually irrelevant, and I didn't need to mention it at all.
Well, I think all rumours in the MotoGP paddock are worth talking about, because there are a lot, and most of them never come to fruition, and we just end up talking about them anyway. Like everyone else does. How many times do you go on social media and there's a link to something or something that never happens all the time?
Yeah.
So it's worth a chat about it. But I'd be interested to see if they did part company, where would Repsol Honda throw their allegiance, and who would Honda bring in to be their title sponsor?
Yeah, it would be interesting, because the rumour was, wasn't it, that Red Bull were going to leave Tech 3, they were going to go to Honda, and Repsol were out.
Yeah.
But yeah, where would Repsol go? Because Repsol have essentially sponsored Repsol Honda for 20 years?
At least 20 years, because they've sponsored Doohan, Crivier. So yeah, 20 years plus.
Yeah, and they sponsor people in other classes, don't they? Like, I mean, they sponsored Marc Marquez coming up. In fact, I was watching Undaunted earlier, and they were, I mean, I don't know whether they were sponsoring him or whether 4-year-old Dovi just had Repsol leathers for the lols. But he had Repsol written all over his gear then.
Yep. So you can assume we know they nurture talent and bring it through. And with it, like the CEV championships and all that, they are branching out and sponsoring a lot of people.
Yeah, it's true. And you do sometimes see their sponsorship on like the, like you say, CV, even in Moto3, sometimes you see a Repsol badge here and there.
Yeah, so they'll be around. They'll find a niche, a home somewhere, if they were to part company. But it would be interesting to see them with a full manufactured up, say, Repsol Suzuki.
It would be weird, wouldn't it? It would be weird.
That would be strange. That would be so strange. After so many years being Repsol Honda, HRC, Repsol Honda, it's just...
Yeah, it's really strange to think about. Imagine being like Repsol Ducati or something. That's weird.
That would be weird. Very, very weird. But we'll see. By the looks of it, they're hanging around for at least another year. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what rumours come towards the end of this year.
Yeah, certainly. And there'll be plenty of them, because that's just the way the world works. It's just rumours everywhere.
Yeah, we'll start a few, make it a bit interesting,
We'll start a few. We just every week just start a new rumour just to see what we can get spread throughout the year.
Yeah, to see how far it travelled. If it comes back full circle, we get an email from Dawn, I'll be like, oh shit.
So before we dive into the show properly, there's just a couple of bits I want to talk about. Steve, did you see The Masked Singer, or the Spanish version of The Masked Singer at least?
I saw a part of it where a certain Mr. Retiree did unveil himself as the Masked Singer.
It's bonkers. Have you ever watched it before?
No, not until then.
Okay, so I have watched the show before because Cherie loves it. And it's quite a fun show, I think, if you're anything apart from sober. So as long as you've taken something or drunk something, it's actually quite a fun show. And it involves, for those of you that don't know, I assume most people probably do, but there must be some of you that don't. So for those of you who don't know, it involves a week-by-week contest, and it's a celebrity, or I think it starts with 8 celebrities, dressed up, masked, you could say, but properly dressed up. They've got like really fantastic suits that Disney would be proud of, and they just sing. And every week, the judges try and guess who they are, and then when they get voted, I think they get voted off, and when they do, they reveal who they are. And as Steve said here, Jorge Lorenzo was on The Masked Singer in Spain. And I must say, I went back and watched all of his performances. Pretty good.
Yeah, I thought that. I did look up his shows, and he's not a bad singer.
Yeah, he's not bad. I can now see why he's not really that fussed about being Yamaha's test rider anymore, because he's just going to go on for a career as a singer.
That boy's got options. I mean, let's face it. I mean, he's global name, big in Spain, big all over the world. He's not going to have the offers will come at him for things like that, especially now he's done it once and everyone knows about it and they know he's game for doing it.
Yeah, exactly. He'll be on like Spanish "I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here" or Survivor. What other terrible shows are there along those same vein? Celebrity Big Brother, maybe.
Celebrity Big Brother.
Oh my God! Yeah. Can you imagine the drama that would unfold if Jorge Lorenzo was on Celebrity Big Brother?
Get him on tomorrow. That'd be brilliant. But yeah, stuff like that. Celebrity SAS.
Oh yeah, that would be a good one.
I don't. Is that a worldwide show? Or is it just here in the UK?
I imagine because it's SAS, it would probably be just UK. But there might be like there's got to be a foreign version. Navy SEAL version. I don't know. Yeah. Anyone listening outside of the UK, if you don't know what SAS Who Dares Wins is, it's some ex-Special Forces soldiers training a load of celebrities in Special Forces ways. So I imagine other countries do it.
They must have something. I mean, the French must have like the Foreign Legion Survivor Series and all that jazz. Whatever, I don't know any other special forces from around the world, but yeah, they must have a version of something along that line.
Yeah, I was trying to think of other special forces. I was like Mossad, but I think they might be spies.
I'm not sure what they are. KGB, what's that?
KGB was the ex-Soviet Union spies, a bit like our MI5, I think. But I don't know if they're a real thing anymore or whether they've changed their name. I have no idea.
I'm not really up on my like special forces, who dares win stuff. No. I really don't know. But if anyone else around the world knows, let us know. Or if you know of a show that you really like, which is along that line, let us know and we'll check it out.
Yeah, that's fair.
We'll have a look because we're locked down now. We'll be pretty damn bored.
Yeah, there's not a lot to do now.
I've made some plans, but I have 2 young kids, so those plans are probably going to take a while.
So the plans are flexible.
The plans are very flexible. Very, very flexible. In between hospital trips, a lot of hospital trips. But anyway, should we get back to the matter at hand? Massive tangent over.
Yes. Before we do, I would just like to say, Steve, I am a tad nervous for the MotoGP season this year.
Yeah, don't start. I was going to bring that up because we've already seen a postponement, haven't we?
Yes.
In a different series.
Formula One, which I'm still not sure whether I'm going to watch or not next year. I'm still in emotional turmoil about this.
I looked up that clip that we spoke about. I'd have smacked shit out of that bloke.
Quite. But there has been quite a big movement. I know Haas, the team, every time they post anything, they're just getting, on social media, it's just getting flooded with "we say no to Mazepin" hashtags. So people are on it, and I kind of hope they just fucking listen and get rid of him.
I think they got to. Otherwise, the backlash would be immense.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll wait and see.
You don't do that kind of shit.
Well, exactly. But yes, they have postponed, sorry, it's not been officially cancelled, postponed their first race of 2021, which was supposed to be in Australia. It's going to be a hard one to reschedule, even if they plan on rescheduling it, because it's not like they go to Phillip Island. It's not like with MotoGP. I mean, they race in Albert Park in the middle of Melbourne. It's a half street circuit, half not. That's going to be a really tough one to reschedule, but they are doing that. And it's better than this time last year when they waited until 2 a.m. Friday morning before free practice to actually cancel it. So they've got in a couple of months ahead of schedule this year, and hopefully this isn't a sign of things to come. Maybe it is. I don't know.
I think it could be. I mean, the way the UK is going at the minute, although we're rolling out a vaccine at apparently an astonishing rate.
Brilliant.
Apparently.
I don't trust anything that man says.
I don't trust anything any politician in this country says at the minute.
I give you that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I like Andy Burnham. Actually, I'm a big fan of the Andy Burnham. I keep calling him the King in the North. He's the guy, the Manchester mayor, that keeps mouthing off against Boris. I'm a big fan of him.
Because he just seems to talk sense and says what he thinks, which I think a lot of politicians lack.
Yes, certainly. But this isn't a politics show, Steve. We're going to turn off some of our listeners here. That's my bad. I brought that up again.
After we've finished this MotoGP slightly political podcast, let's do a full bore one-off political podcast. Late night, we've both got a few beers. You've got some weird stuff chilling in the fridge.
Late night with Tim and Steve talking politics. We'll just hang out in our smoking jackets with our pipes and our glasses of whiskey and just
Yeah, let's get back on target.
Okay, so shall we dive into the show then?
Let's go properly at the show.
Right, so Andrea Dovizioso didn't get his middle name. Should have done, because that would have had a more impactful statement there. But we're going to stick with Andrea Dovizioso. Born 23rd of March 1986. That makes him 5 years older than me and 5 years younger than you?
4 years.
4 years younger than you, okay.
No, 5 years. I'm telling you a lie. I was looking at the wrong bit. 5 years, yeah, 5 years. That's depressing.
So he's bang in the middle of the two of us.
He is.
I didn't realise this, but his father, Antonio Dovizioso, was also a motorcycle racer.
Yes, I had no idea. Like Dovi's not one like the Marquez father, who you see publicised in the garage all the time. You know, you just don't see him.
Although you say that, I was watching Undaunted earlier, the Red Bull documentary.
That was going to be my next step.
And he was in that in a few races. He was there in full team gear.
Yeah, I thought that because initially I thought he was a member of the team.
Exactly what I thought. Because I was like, who's this fella? I've never seen him before. He was like hanging out with like Tardozzi and like Gigi and stuff. I was like, who's this fella?
Yeah, I was sort of looking, I think, why is he talking to him like that? He wasn't really talking to him like a team member. Mm-hmm. And then it come up with the caption, like, father. I was like, oh, really? Yeah. I thought he was a team member. Full livery shirt, like you say, everything.
Yeah, and they don't look, he doesn't, I guess if you were to say that about Marquez Sr., you wouldn't say he looks like Marc Marquez either. But they look more similar, don't they, than Dovi and Dovi Sr.
And his dad don't look anything alike. I just figured he was a member of the Ducati squad.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I wonder how many times we've seen him on the broadcast before and just been like, oh, there's another guy in Ducati uniform. Moving on.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. We've probably seen him hundreds and hundreds of times, just never realised it.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's always there, apparently.
He is always there. So, anyway, Dovi started racing, I guess, late 90s, and in the year 2000, bang on the millennium, cue Robbie Williams. I'm not going to drop a Robbie Williams clip in there.
I thought you were going to sing.
No, I thought it'd be fun to... Nah, it doesn't matter. Carrying on. Dovi, in the year 2000, won the Italian Aprilia Challenge. I looked up this championship, trying to work out what the fuck it was. I think they're riding RS250s.
Yeah.
But I couldn't confirm that. I could only do that because I could find second-hand Aprilia Challenge bikes that were RS250s for sale online.
I think that's what they are, because I did a little bit of research as well, and the only sort of championship back then, bikes that were being ridden were all Aprilias.
Especially in Italy, I'd imagine.
Yeah, being the variant of like 50cc, 125cc, and then the 250, which I always wanted.
I tell you what, I always wanted, when I was like 16 and get my first moped, I really wanted the RS50. Oh.
Yeah. There's still a few around. They're collecting good money. There's 2 RS250s not far from where we live in Norfolk for sale for roughly around $7,000, and I'm so tempted.
Are they road-going ones or are they track bikes?
Road bikes.
Okay, I found an RS250 track bike. It was a championship-winning track bike. And it was in the States, and I think it was $35,000.
Yeah, these things, like, I can remember when I first started riding bikes when I was 19, or road bikes. I went for one of the little 400cc Hondas, and there was a magazine clip done in fast bikes, and they had like the CBR 400, the VFR 400, the Kawasaki ZX 400, and then with it was the 250 Aprilia, which was just as bloody quick.
That's amazing.
And looked so futuristic compared to these boxy, like 400cc jobs, and it just looked immense. I think the only thing that put every kid off was like the maintenance, because every time you went on a bike for sale site, it was like an RS125 and had a blown head.
Yeah, I remember that. It was really common with the 50s as well, wasn't it? Just blowing up all the time because they fucking flew and they revved at like 15,000 RPM for a road going 50cc bike.
It's amazing. I remember my mate having a 125 and I begged him to have a go, and when he finally did, it scared the hell out of me. I was like, "Jeez, this is amazing!" But now, approaching 40, I would love one for just the screen factor.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to ride it fast, but just to ride it nicely.
Well, the fun thing is with those bikes, when you're riding them flat out, realistically, you're still not riding them fast. Like this, they're pretty quick, but they're not like, you're not hitting like 120 mile an hour on the.
No. But you're gonna come off of those things with a hell of a grin.
Certainly. And that's whether you're sliding down the tarmac or you've stopped at a petrol station and got off gently.
That's going to be the only time you slide down the tarmac of your ass with a grin on your face.
Yeah, exactly. Knowing that as you're watching your bike bounce along, you're like, it's okay. It would have blown up pretty soon anyway.
Exactly. We'll just go out and get a new engine.
That's it.
Oh, dear.
So, yeah, Dovi wins the Aprilia Challenge, which we're assuming is the 250, and stepped up to the European Championship for 2001. 2001, he entered the European Championship and won it straight off. First time. Happy days. He also entered his first World Championship event at Mugello that year. So that would have been riding the 125s. The European Championship was also on 125, sorry. So he's dropped down from what we assume is the 250s to the 125s. And he entered Mugello 125cc race there. But he retired from that. I didn't get a chance to watch it because I just haven't had time this week, but there is a film called Mancini the Motorcycle Wizard, which tells the story of Dovi's 2001 season in the European Championship, because Mancini, I think it's Mancini or Mancini, I assume Chini, but he was Dovi's mechanic that year and he's a world-renowned mechanic, yeah.
Former rider, apparently.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, just reading on Wiki. It says during the year he worked with, if I can pronounce it right, Guido Mancini, a former rider and mechanic, who apparently in the past worked with Rossi and Loris Capirossi.
Yes, so worked with all the Italian superstars.
Yeah, apparently the film was released in 2016.
Yeah, I did find it. I found the film, but I haven't had time to watch it.
No, I didn't realise. I didn't know about it until you sent the notes, and I'll definitely be checking that one out. So it'll be quite a good one to watch.
Yeah, I think it will be quite an interesting one, certainly.
Yeah, having a gander at that.
So 2002 comes along. Dovi has he's won the Aprilia Challenge in 2000. He won the European Championship in 2001. 2002 he hits the big time, and he's a full-time ride in the 125cc World Championship with Team Scott Honda. Not a great year considering his last 2 years. Finished 16th overall, best finish of 9th all year, and he managed that twice, once at Le Mans, once at Donington.
That shows that sudden step up to the world stage, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it? Really interesting, because you see this all the time. We saw it with Quartararo, we saw it with Bastianini. We see these guys that have come up and crushed everything they've raced in. And as soon as they hit the World Championship, it's like, whoa, shit, there's some really fast guys in the world. Yeah,
all of a sudden you hit that world stage where you've got the world's best all concentrated in one little spot, and all of a sudden the results don't happen, but you're on the world stage.
Yeah, but it does really show, doesn't it, how much more competitive the world stage is. I think you and I are certainly guilty of this, but I think all fans of motorsport are guilty of it, where we see someone like riding around and constantly finishing 10th. You're like, I'll get rid of them. They're not worth it. They're not any good. Of course they're fucking good. They've already made it to the world stage. You only make it to the world stage by winning everything before that.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, you might not be as quick as 9 other guys, but these are 9 of the quickest guys in the world. So
exactly. I mean, that is your career make or break bit right there, really.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. You could dominate absolutely everything, your domestic races at home, domestic championships. You step up on that world stage, and like you say, you've got 9 guys who are just that little bit quicker than you, and you don't quite get out and into the top 5 all the time or win a championship, and you're just going to sit there.
Yeah.
Unless you've got a proven talent or a talent scout find you, who can see what's inside and just realise it needs that little bit of nurturing to pull it through, you're going to be very lucky to get looked at past those other 9 guys.
Yeah, certainly.
But I'm guilty in the past as well, like of just watching MotoGP. So when you start looking back through people's careers, I don't often remember the careers of like these guys in Moto2, in Moto3, and I certainly don't realise what they've done in the past.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, so for me, I've only been watching MotoGP for 2011's the first season I ever watched a full season. But to be fair, it wasn't until it arrived on BT Sport in 2013, maybe,
Roughly
that I started
2013.
watching Moto3, Moto2, and MotoGP.
I mean, more recent than that. I think it's only since we've really started podcasting I've really shown a lot of interest in all three classes.
Okay.
So I was always just MotoGP orientated.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. Because people just always say, you see the Moto3 race? No. Just watch MotoGP.
It's some of the best races, isn't it? That's the thing.
I know. Now it's like I look forward to the entire weekend. It's like I've got to watch all three races.
Yeah, exactly. But I knew nothing. Like when I started watching MotoGP, Dovi was already in MotoGP. Yeah. So it's like I knew none of this build up to it. Yeah,
when I started watching, it was like roughly, I say MotoGP, roughly around the year 2000. So when Dovi started his career. So I was already there. I can remember him coming up into MotoGP, but before that, it's all a bit hazy. I don't really have much clue what he did in Moto2, Moto125.
Yeah,
just solely MotoGP orientated.
Today's a learning curve for us all, Steve.
We're all getting schooled today.
So in 2003, Dovi continued with the same team, finished 5th overall in the season and picked up 4 podiums along the way. So this is kind of now showing the form that I guess he expected to have when he came into the season.
Right. Nice little improvement there.
Certainly, it's a massive improvement, I think, from 16th to 5th overall, picking up a few podiums. Happy days. 2004, another step forward. Same team. He won the championship. He had 5 wins, 6 more podiums. And it just that's the kind of dominating Moto3 equivalent of Moto3. It's 125s then, but that's the kind of dominant season we see from, I don't know how many. I think Brad Binder won more than that.
I think he did.
Who? This is embarrassing. Who's the British lad that won it? Stabby McStabface.
Oh, Danny Kent.
Danny Kent, there we go.
Stabby McStabface.
I think that's the kind of track record he had. He won a lot and scored a lot of podiums early on, didn't he? And then kind of tailed off towards the end of the year.
Yeah. Yes, just kind of slowly filtered out down towards the end of the year.
Yeah, definitely. But you'd say in the lightweight class now, if you were going to go score 5 wins and 6 more podiums, you're probably going to win the title.
You'd say so, with how tight it is and how chop changey it could be. 5 wins, 6 podiums would probably be enough.
Yeah,
to do it roughly, because there's so much chopping and changing. You never know who's going to win from one week to the next.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But that was him really coming to the fore, wasn't it? Showing his class, showing exactly what he was. And we would obviously, I say a couple of years ago in the chronology of what we're talking about here, we had just discussed that neither one of us really knew much about Dovi's career coming up. And I think it's amazing. I really didn't realise how promising he looked. Like, I've only ever known him as, I saw him ride a Repsol, I saw him ride a Tech 3 Yamaha, and I saw him ride a Ducati. I never realised he had this huge promising build-up to become the force he ended up being, I guess, in MotoGP.
That's the bit that we're really guilty of missing, isn't it? Just the build-up to that massive MotoGP career and how much effort they put in. This is what we don't see. And I think from, after now, realising how much you're missing out by not watching Moto3 and Moto2, and some of the CV racing and the Talent Cups, those guys are awesome.
Yeah.
You start looking at the amount of TV hours there are at the weekend when you start looking at Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and for me, I just want to watch the lot now.
Yeah.
I sit there, it's like there's so much telly recorded at the end of the year. I was like, I want to sit down and watch the lot, because you start watching these little guys coming in Moto3 and you're like, shit, what's he going to do next race?
Yeah.
And then you start doing the same thing in Moto2 and it's like, hang on. What's this guy going to do? And then all of a sudden, before you know it, you're just sat in front of the TV all weekend vegetating.
And and the problem is you could quite easily do that because you could quite comfortably watch MotoGP, Moto2, Moto3. You could watch the Red Bull rookies. You could watch CEV Moto3, CEV Moto2. You could watch the British Talent Cup. You could watch the Northern Talent Cup. It just goes on, and the Asian Talent Cup. Yeah, it just goes on and on and on, and eventually you've got 48 hours in your weekend and 36 and a half of them are full of just motorbike racing. If you want to start watching every World Superbike race, like you're watching 3 World Superbike races, you'll watch 2 Supersport races, you'll be watching the Supersport 300 races, the Superstock races, like there's so much going on, and that expands down to British Superbikes, Italian Superbikes. Like if you wanted to consume bike racing all weekend, you really comfortably could.
Yeah, you could literally sit there and vegetate in your pants.
Yeah.
And just flick the telly on. The only thing you'd have to get up for is go to the toilet, get some food.
That's it.
You know, there is so much racing out there now, and it's all seriously good racing.
Yeah, that's it. And even if you couldn't record it, you could watch Moto America because that's on a completely different time to all the European races.
Yeah. In fact, I've still got a lot of that to watch. Must catch up with that. But anyway, back to...
So that moves us to 2005.
That's the one. I was then thinking, where the hell were we?
Yeah, so he won the 125 championship in 2004 and then moved up to 250s in 2005.
Oh, he stayed with the same team, didn't he?
Yes, still with Scott Honda.
Yes.
And it wasn't a bad season, that 2005 season for him.
I was then reading your notes here. 5 podiums and 3rd overall in the standings. That's not bad for your first season to come up to.
That's exactly it. Imagine, I don't know, who... Have we seen enter Moto2, which is the equivalent to the 250 class now, and in their rookie year, score 5 podiums, finish 3rd overall, and win Rookie of the Year on the way?
No one, I don't think. Not that I can remember.
I mean, Marc Marquez nearly won the championship. Lorenzo and Pedrosa both won it in their rookie years. But, you know, aside from that, and actually, I think 2006 would have been Lorenzo's rookie year in Moto2.
I think it is.
250s.
I think it is. I think that was the year he sort of progressed up and really jumped onto the scene.
Yeah. But yeah, off the top of my head, and I'm sure there has been riders that I've watched have results like that.
Sitting down at the time and trying to think of them straight off the hip you can never do it.
Yeah, exactly.
I never can. I sit here and it'd just be silence of us just trying to think,
I normally remember afterwards, after I'm sitting and editing the show, I'm like, fuck, now I know, obviously. And I'm always tempted, I'm like, I could just edit this bit, edit a little cut in there of me saying the right thing, and Steve would never have to know. But I don't do that, obviously.
No, we just roll with it. I normally remember stuff a couple of days later when I'm thinking about it. I'm like, who the hell's that? Oh shit, that's it. When you're doing something completely unrelated and it just pops in there. For God's sake.
Yeah.
Damn you, brain.
So 2006, Dovi stays, same team, still in 250s. Manages to win 2 races across the year, one at Catalunya, one at Estoril. Takes 11 further podiums in that season and fights Lorenzo all the way to the final round for the title.
All right, that's a lot of podiums. But considering, like you put down your notes here, Lorenzo had 8 wins and a further 3 podiums. That's impressive. Yeah,
Lorenzo that year had 2 DNFs. Those 2 DNFs were the only reason Dovi managed to fight him all the way to the line. And it was just proving, as we've seen Dovi in the last few years of MotoGP, is his consistency that keeps him in the fight every time.
That is it.
He's very rarely the fastest rider on the grid. But he kind of has this, like, I compare him to Alain Prost in Formula One. He has this approach where he just does what he needs to do. He doesn't go beyond what he needs to do. He's just keep him in the title fight, just keep chipping away, keep taking the points, stay on the bike, don't make a rash decision, don't crash, just stay on the bike, take the points.
Yeah, there's a lot of that reflected in that Undaunted movie, where he said several times, he's like, I could push it further, but then it's not worth the risk. We should take these points. He's a very calculated, thoughtful person.
Yeah, and I did find it quite interesting in that documentary is that they were saying, like, was it Gigi at one point saying, like, he just needs to do what the Ducati Spirit or whatever it was. He needs to just go a bit crazy sometimes and just take the extra points. And it's like, I remember I was watching it, I was thinking, but Iannone was fucking mental and crashed all the time, and you sacked him for it. So you can't now blame your steady rider that you kept because he's a steady rider for not being mental enough.
I forget which whether it was Tardozzi or Gigi. It was like we want him to be more instinctive and go with those actions in that current situation.
Yeah.
But that's not Dovi. He's thoughtful. Like they call him the professor because he sits down or doesn't sit down. He's riding at the time. He works everything out perfectly.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely perfectly. And if it's not worth the risk, he won't take the risk.
That's exactly.
He will take the points he's sitting on. And when like we said it in one of our shows last year, when you look at his results, be it a fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, fourth, he is consistent in his bracket.
Yeah.
And like you say, never the fastest rider on the grid, but probably overall the most consistent.
Definitely.
Of them all, which is what makes him great.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
I did find that a bit strange where they're like, well, you can't say one thing about one rider, something different about the other, and then expect like this like mishmash of both in one person. Quite an insightful documentary, but I found it quite frustrating at the same time. So I felt like they put a lot of pressure on him without pressurizing him, if that makes any sense. Some of the ways they were sort of hanging around him in the garage and just, I know it's a documentary film, so you're not seeing the whole picture. But sometimes it just looked like they were pressurizing him with their presence.
Yeah, it kind of, I had never really thought about it before, but it kind of showed a good behind the scenes of what a MotoGP rider goes through.
Yeah.
And they don't get a moment to themselves. There's always someone there talking to them. He's having a massage between sessions, which to start with, I was like, fucking princess needing a massage between sessions. I'm like, hang on. He's pushing himself. Like, I've seen his heart rate up at like 180 beats per minute before. Like, he's pushing himself so hard. Of course he needs that, like, massage the muscles out, get the most out of it. But even while he's having that massage, he's got a crew member there being like, you need to brake a little bit later in this corner. You're doing this wrong compared to this person. You know, I know you were following the Suzuki. It's a really good handling bike. But get that out of your head. We can't handle like Suzuki. You've got to take your advantages where you can. Like, there's not a moment that he's just left alone.
No, and it must be like that for all the GP riders.
Oh, 100%. It's right. It's like that for everyone.
Yeah. On the flip side of that, there was a piece in that documentary film where they went for a summer break and they went to a motocross weekend. And like Rossi was there, a few of the other riders were there.
I think it was only Petrucci and Rossi.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't see anyone else I recognised.
Anywho, that was after the weekend where he'd had a bit of a coming together with Petrucci.
Yeah, that was Mugello, wasn't it? Mugello 2019, where Petrucci won his first race that year, and first race, full stop.
Yeah. But even at that motocross weekend, they were talking about it, and Dovi just couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
He was still going on about it, and it shows how much he thinks about things, and how much things obviously do play on his mind.
Yes.
So psychologically affected massively by the events of one weekend, and it was over the summer break, so it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't take something like that with him for, I don't know, 3 or 4 races.
Yeah.
Until he can find something to replace it.
Yeah, I think that's probably right, and I think that's probably the way I would imagine most riders are a bit like that. Are a bit like they take the last race with them until the next race.
Yeah, just can't let it go. It's just their way of life, and it's how it goes.
And that's how you get so good at something. If you're not thinking about something all the time, you're never going to be the best at it. The only reason these guys are racing on the world stage is because all they think about is racing, all they do is race. You see it with, like that weekend, what are they going to do for a relaxing weekend? Oh, we'll go ride motorbikes.
Yeah, like that is their life. It's
or like you do like a Valentino Rossi, isn't it? Like what you can do the weekend. Oh, I'm going to go race Monza Rally.
Yeah. Yeah. It is fast cars, fast bikes, thrill, adrenaline.
Yeah.
It's, fast paced, fast life. Go for it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So 2007 brought a very similar story to 2016. Dovi won 2 races, still in the 250cc class, still with Scott Honda.
Yep.
Actually, I don't think it was Scott Honda. It was the same team, but they changed their name. Can't remember what they changed it to. Didn't write it down. Essentially the same team, different name.
What year are we talking about? 2007.
2007.
2007.
I think it was like Humongous or something. Humongi, something like that.
Does not say. Can't find it. 2005, 2006. No, it doesn't say about a.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it was that year anyway. I just
Probably
didn't
was.
write down the notes properly. But yeah, he won 2 races, finished second again to Lorenzo, but was less consistent, and Lorenzo won by a much larger margin that year. Quite comfortably won it. It wasn't taken down to the last race. However, both of them stepped up in 2008, stepped up to MotoGP. Still with the same team for Dovi, still with Scott Honda. See, I didn't realise, obviously I wasn't watching it then, I didn't realise he didn't just come straight onto the Repsol Honda. He had a year on a satellite Honda.
Yeah, 1 year, wasn't it?
Yes, it was 1 year with Scott Honda.
Yeah, I can remember him roughly coming up this time, so I remember the Scott Honda. I can remember having his podium in Malaysia.
Yeah.
And I can remember him being not a threat, but I can remember him being there.
Yeah, he finished, 4th in his first race at Qatar, pretty consistent all year, a handful of 4th, 5th, 6th places, and yeah, like you say, 1 podium in Malaysia. Yeah,
all of a sudden, he made a step up after not a couple of bad years, but a couple of not so great years in Moto2.
Well, I don't know, he finished second and 1 races both those 2 years.
You know what I mean? He didn't set the world alight. He didn't win the championship, so he's come up as not the champion and has suddenly stepped up, and he's not done badly.
Not at all. He finished 5th overall. Aside from Marc Marquez and maybe Quartararo, I don't think we've seen a rookie season like that in a long time.
No, all of a sudden. He seemed to fit that bike as well.
And the bike, man, I was looking back at pictures of it. Oh, what a stunning machine. The livery. It looked a lot like, remember Jack Miller's Knight in Shining Armour at Phillip Island, I guess, 2019. It looked a lot like that livery, just a lot of silver. I liked it. I was a big fan.
Yeah, I got a picture of it in front of me now. It does look good. I like that bike. Don't see many silver bikes now. I'd like to see more of them.
I don't know. I'm quite a fan of the idea of just having a very basic looking bike, and every team 2 races per year can just put on a cracking livery. They can just have a cool livery for 2 races. We saw a lot of cool Valentino Rossi liveries for a long time in his first stint with Yamaha. Pramac are very good with their cool liveries. They do the Lamborghini livery in Italy every year.
Lamborghini one's nice. The Yamaha, I think, are the ones over the years that have done some seriously good liveries. Well. Rossi especially has had some seriously nice liveries.
Even Lorenzo's had some really cool liveries.
Yeah, I like the spacesuit one. Rossi's Magello Flower Power one.
Yeah,
the blue livery, that was insane.
I'm quite a fan of the Fiat 500 livery they had.
Yes, that was pretty cool. The 500 Faces.
Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah, you start thinking about what they've done, and then you look at the Repsol Honda, and it barely changes.
Though they did have a really cool livery with Casey Stoner for 1 race.
Yes.
I can't remember. Was it designed by a disabled child? I think designed the livery, and that was really cool. I was a big fan of that.
Yes, I think they need to do it more.
Yeah, I miss the special liveries among the big teams. Yamaha did those really cool white liveries, didn't they? For their was it like their 70th anniversary special or something?
Yeah. They had the yellow and black Kenny Roberts special tribute.
I don't remember that
as well. Google it, 'cause it looked nice.
Okay.
It did look nice. And it came out as on a road bike as well as like a special, which did look stunning.
Okay. Let me just Google this quickly. Special livery. My computer's going to run really slowly throughout that. Is it the yellow one, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really nice. And there's very little advertising on it at all. Very little sponsorship, which makes it look even nicer, I think.
Yes, I don't like bikes with just road bikes with just slap full of like sponsorship logos.
Yeah, although it looks a little bit because of the colour and because I can see a 46 on it, it just reminds me a lot of the Camel.
Camel those. That wasn't a bad livery.
No, it wasn't a bad livery at all, actually. I think the Camel livery, and I think a lot of the tobacco liveries are very attractive liveries, and I think it's because they were pouring so much money into it that it's just the one main sponsor. It's not them throwing 500 other sponsors in little logos all over the place to make the money up. If you can get like Marlboro just to sponsor the entire team, fuck it, happy days. We've got Marlboro to do it.
Exactly. Tobacco advertising.
It shows smoking's good for something. It's good for motorsport.
It is good for motorsport, just not the lungs.
No, certainly not the lungs. No, certainly
No.
not the lungs. So 2009, anyway, Dovi moved to Repsol Honda. He was partnering Pedrosa, and Nicky Hayden was out and off the factory Ducati. I don't know. Did Nicky Hayden move to Ducati? Was he the one to instigate the move, or did Honda say, "Look, we're going to bring Dovi up. You can go, Nicky. You won us the title in 2006. We're over you now. Bye bye."
I think it was a little bit of both, because this is the year where we had the triple Repsol Hondas, wasn't it?
No.
Was it?
No, that was 2011.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I get a little bit confused. I think it was a little bit of both. I think because Hayden won the title, and then...
But he was never the favourite even then, was he? Like, Pedrosa was Honda's chosen one, and Hayden just kind of won it out of nowhere, and everyone was a bit confused.
Yeah, then all of a sudden he had, 2 seasons of almost nothing.
Yeah.
And I think it was a case of Repsol then saying, right, you're done. Okay. We found a replacement for you, and Hayden made his way across to Ducati.
Okay, fair enough.
I think, off the top of my head, I think because, like you say, he was never the favourite to win it. He did win it, but then just couldn't back it up.
Yeah. And arguably that's because he was, Pedrosa was the chosen one. Pedrosa was the number one in that team, even in that 2006 where Pedrosa was a rookie. He was the number one in the team. Nicky Hayden was only really supposed to be there to test parts for Pedrosa to go and win a title or two.
Exactly. I think that's what to me, that's one of the reasons why he was so emotional when he did win it. Because he was never meant to. Yeah. Never meant to. But did. Bloody good on him.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. And in that season, that 2009 season, Dovi finished 6th overall in the titles, so actually a slightly worse year than his previous one. But he did win a race in Donington.
He did.
To be his first MotoGP win in that soaking wet race.
That was a very wet race as well, I remember that one.
And he looked so young, man. Like, I went back and looked at some pictures and some old footage from that year, and I was like, oh my God, Dovi is such a child there. I guess he would have been 25 at the time.
Exactly, yeah. They always look so young now. You start looking back over pictures like, oh
God, I looked at video of Marc Marquez in 2013 when he won the title. I'm like, who the fuck is this prepubescent child just winning a MotoGP title?
Yeah, insane when you look back now. Absolutely insane. Yeah.
So then that moves us to 2010. 2010 saw Dovi stay with the same team, stayed with Repsol Honda, scored 7 podiums, no wins, finished 5th overall in the standings. I know very little about that year, to be honest, so I don't know what happened there.
I can't remember that far back.
That was Lorenzo's title year, right? Lorenzo's first title. Oh, Lorenzo won a shitload of races that year, didn't he? Didn't he have the highest ever point score of anyone at the time?
I think that is that year where all of a sudden he just basically dominated absolutely everything.
Yeah, Rossi obviously broke his leg.
Yeah, at Pagello in that crazy crash. And then called the racetrack from his hospital bed. I've still got this year, actually. I meant to watch that. I've got the 2010 season review somewhere around here.
Have you?
Yeah. I mean to watch that. And I think I might even have the 2009 or 2011 one.
Oh, that would be great. It'd be really fun, I think, to go really smashed over a weekend and just go through the last 20 season in review DVDs.
Oh, that'd be amazing. I'd love to do that. So I find every now and again at the minute, I need a little top up.
Yeah.
I've got this year's season review on the planet, and every now and again I keep watching it. Just because I need a little top up.
I'm a bit like that, which is why I thought Undaunted was really good today, because it gave me something to watch. I started watching Drive to Survive again. I've watched that series 3 times already. I just started watching it again last night because I've got nothing else to do in my time. One? It's the Netflix Formula One series.
That's it. Yeah,
really worth a watch, actually. If you want to get into Formula One, that's the way to do it. Watch those 2 seasons of that.
Yeah, I've got plenty of time now. I might find myself watching something.
Yeah, it's certainly worth a watch.
Took his first win at Donington. Donington's a nice track as well. I wish we still went there, but it's just not big enough to support the grid now.
That's the problem, isn't it? I've only ever been there for music festivals, for download festivals there. I remember going there, and it must have been, right, let's get this year right. I think it would have been 2010. And he
dug the track up.
Yeah, they dug the track up, and we were allowed to. It was 2010, and we were allowed to. Whereas every other year for download, you have to walk around the circuit to get from the campsite to the main arena. But that year, you could walk across the circuit because it was all dug up. So that was really cool. Like we could walk along some of the corners and along parts of the track, and that was really fun. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's 2010.
And we were on 2010 with Dovi as well, weren't we? So that's pretty good.
That works in quite nicely.
Yeah, it does. So we moved to 2010 with Dovi. 7 podiums, 5th overall. No more wins. So 2011, this is the fun year.
I was then thinking that was the fun year because there's a lot of sort of politics around this 3-bike team.
And it's funny because this is the year I first started watching MotoGP, and without going into too much detail, Steve, you know all about this already, but I started watching MotoGP from a hospital bed. So I'm just there a bit tripped out on morphine, like, there's 3 Repsol bikes, fair enough, that's pretty normal.
We didn't tell Tim there was only one.
But I didn't know any different. I was like, it's a bit weird that there's 3 of this one, but that's fair enough, fine, whatever. I'm like, I've watched other racing series, like I've watched like NASCAR before, and there've been like 5 of the same team, so that's pretty normal, whatever. So I didn't really think anything of it. And it's only when I was reading back on it now, I'm like, whoa, this was quite a shitstorm, this 3-bike team.
Yeah. I could, thinking back off the top of my head now, I remember like everyone saying Honda were desperate to get rid of Dovi. And he was contracted for the following year. And basically dug his heels in to the point where he said, no, you signed this contract, I signed this contract, and I don't think, off the top of my head, if I can remember the wording correctly, I don't think there was a good enough loophole for Repsol Honda to find grounds to actually get rid of him.
I think that was the case. So what I understand, now I could be wrong about this, so if any of you guys listening know, please email in and let us know.
Do so.
But from what I understand is that Honda didn't want to get rid of him completely, but they didn't want him in Repsol Honda anymore. They wanted Danny Pedrosa and Casey Stoner.
That's the one.
And they wanted to move him down to a satellite Honda ride. And he said, no, my contract quite clearly with HRC says I will be riding for the factory HRC team. And they were like, it says you'll be riding an HRC factory-sponsored bike. And he's like, no, it says I'll be riding for Repsol Honda factory HRC team. That's what the contract says. That's what you've got to provide me with.
Basically.
And that's exactly what Stoner's contract and Pedrosa's contract said as well.
Yeah, so I think they basically all 3 of them had Honda over a barrel and were like, well, you've signed this contract. I think what happened was in the background, Honda had realised, Stoner's potential.
Well, I mean, everyone knew Stoner's potential at this point, didn't they? He won the championship in 2007. He won races in 2008, 2009, 2010 with Ducati.
At that point, was the only one, apart from like Loris Capirossi off the top of my head, to actually do anything with that Ducati.
And to be fair, Loris Capirossi won a race or 2, but he didn't do anything nearly like Stoner did.
No. So I think they saw an opportunity there just to snap up like the only person that was really going to push a challenge.
Yeah.
So they did. And I think what happened was they signed Stoner really early, not realising that Dovi was going to dig his heels in.
I'm sure that's exactly the case.
Yeah. And then we're like, well, shit. All 3 riders, like you say, were like, well, no, my contract says this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Stick it. And that's what happened. We ended up with 1 year of 3 Repsol Hondas.
Yeah, and that's
quite rightly so.
Well, quite, yeah. I mean, we know contracts in motorsport aren't really worth the paper they're written on, but this seems to be an occasion where the contract really was binding.
Yes, absolutely. I think since then, because that's the first time we've really seen a factory held by the riders. Since then, we've never seen anything like this.
No, and I'm sure there's more loopholes and stuff thrown in there now because of that.
Yeah, just a bit. I'm sure right now there is a lot more scrutineering of the contracts. Certainly. Where you'll probably sit down, each rider, now we know riders have their own managers. Obviously, factories going to have their legal team. So I'd imagine contracts are exchanged across the table several times.
Yeah, I bet that's exactly the case
before pen goes to paper. Because all of a sudden, we've seen a little bit of controversy in the past, but 2011 really sort of stepped it up.
Yeah, certainly.
Riders won and threw egg on the face of a massive factory team.
That's it. And can you imagine how much it cost Honda? It must have cost Honda so much money to run that 3rd bike.
Oh, absolutely.
And pay 3 sets of wages.
Pay 3 factory wages, because there's no way any of them are going to take a pay cut. And they must have offered Stoner a hell ton of money to come across.
Stoner was on some big money deals with Repsol Honda. Big money.
He was. But yeah, hey ho, we had 1 year of 3 Repsols.
Yeah, we did. And in that year, we saw Stoner win the season. I looked back, actually, on Stoner's win record for that season. Oh, my God. Stoner had...
He was a talent.
Whew, his year was similar to Marc Marquez's 2009. It was just podium, 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 DNF, podium, 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 DNF, podium, podium, podium. Like, it was just wins and podiums all year. It was, wow, what a year.
Yeah, I think everyone forgets like how much of a talent Stoner was.
Oh, I don't think we forget. I don't think anyone forgets. I think it just gets clouded in the fact that we all think he was a bit whiny. And we all think he's whiny. Well, I don't think he was. I think we think he was whiny because he was one of the few people to speak their mind.
I think that is probably where it comes from, because he was massively outspoken.
Certainly.
But he had a way of going about it which did make him sound like a whiny 3-year-old.
Yeah, because we talk about Cal Crutchlow being very outspoken, but Crutchlow is more like, oh my God, he's going to punch me. Whereas when Stoner starts, you're like, oh, fucking shut up, Casey.
Yeah, Stoner is that your next door neighbour's dog that you will just convert over the crossbar. Stoner's the Crutchlow's the pit bull that is just going to come at you.
Yeah, exactly.
And although he might be a bit small, you know he's going to take your leg off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, you know, Stoner comes yapping up at you like a little Pomeranian, and you just know that you can convert him over next door's fence.
That's it. But then put him in leathers and put him on a bike, arguably one of the best riders that's ever lived.
Especially when he hears this.
Yeah. I honestly, mate, I don't think Casey Stoner wastes his time listening to MotoGP podcast, let alone this MotoGP podcast.
You wait, email coming in.
Fucking hell, that would be a treat, wouldn't it? But oh my God. I'm so sorry, Casey.
Get an angry email from Casey Stoner. Like, Tim, look what we got. I'm so happy.
Print that, that's going on the wall. Should we ask him to sign it?
What are you two wankers? Shut the fuck
up. Anyway, in that year, Pedrosa scored 7 podiums, finished 3rd in the season, way behind Stoner and behind Lorenzo as well.
Yes.
And then 2012 rolls around. 2012 is the year where Honda got their deal. They were like, do you know what, Dovi, you're fucking out. We're done with you. Leave. And he rode... Actually, they didn't, did they? They asked him if he would ride a satellite Honda.
Yeah. I think he was still contracted for another year.
Oh, was he?
I think so. But I think he turned it down to go to Tech 3.
To partner Britain's Cal Crutchlow at the time.
He did, yes. And this was the really nice, was it Stanley or Phillips? I can't remember the livery up Tech 3.
Yeah, it was the Stanley Monster livery.
That's the one, yeah, because they had it 2013 when we went to Silverstone, and they had one of the bikes on their Stanley display stand around the paddock, and it just looked incredible. It's one of my favourites. I think
Dovi's, because Dovi and Crutchlow had slightly different liveries that year, didn't they?
They were a little bit different, yeah.
Dovi's had more black on it, Crutchlow's was more green. Dovi's Tech 3 livery is one of the best MotoGP liveries I think I've ever seen. I think that 2012 livery is absolutely stunning.
Yeah, that is really nice. I've forgotten now that they were actually just that little bit different.
Yeah, they were.
But yeah, one of the best liveries.
It certainly was. And Dovi saw himself score 6 podiums that year. Finished 4th overall in the standings. I think Crutchlow finished like 13th or something. So he absolutely tore Crutchlow a new one that year.
Yes, yeah, he definitely made his presence felt, should we say.
Yes.
Just arrived and was kind of like, right, I'm here, mine.
Yeah, that's it. And the other big talking point from that year will be Lorenzo's second title.
Yes.
But it would also be that Valentino Rossi finished his 2-year stint with Ducati and then was moving back to Yamaha for 2013.
Yes, I can remember being exceptionally happy about that.
But that opened up a seat at Ducati, and that seat at Ducati was taken by Andrea Dovizioso.
Yes, and he certainly never looked back.
He certainly didn't. So, Steve, let's just take a quick break, and then when we come back, we will discuss Dovi and his Ducati years, I think.
Let's do that.
So, thank you for bearing with us, guys, and let's dive back into where we left off, which was 2013 and Andrea Dovizioso joining Ducati, replacing the famous Valentino Rossi. It was a shit year, I think, it's safe to say.
It was, yeah, not a good year for him, and a lot of people, after seeing the results people had on the Ducati, were saying, bit of a risk going there.
Bit of a risk, fucking hell.
Yeah, at that point in time, the Ducatis were not the bike to be on.
No, it's not the bike that it is today. Well, today probably is not a good example. It's not the bike that it was in 2018, 2019.
No, definitely not. Rossi had gone there, the great Italian marriage, and not made it work.
Failed miserably, I think is probably fair to say.
Very miserably. That's a blot on that man's copybook. Certainly. And, did not have the best first season at all. What did he finish? 8th overall?
Yeah, this is Dovi, obviously, finishing 8th overall, and a best finish of 4th, which I believe was at a soaking wet Le Mans or something, a bit like Rossi's good results came at wet Le Mans races with Ducati.
Yeah. If it was wet back then, the Ducati of that era, that day, would go well.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? That the Ducati could handle in the wet. It just couldn't handle in the dry.
No, slower pace maybe evened out by, more of a level playing field in the wet.
Yeah, I think it just dropped off less in the wet, didn't it? Whereas like everyone else was operating at, say, 99 out of 100 in the wet, they could lose 20 points and they'd be operating at like 79. Whereas the Ducati operated at like 85 out of 100, but only lost 6 points in the wet, so was still operating at like 78, 79.
Yeah, so, but yeah, first year, not a great start.
No. Certainly not. So 2014 saw Crutchlow move over from Tech 3 to rejoin as Dovi's teammate again by signing for the factory Ducati team. For Crutchlow, it was a torrid year, but we're not here to talk about Crutchlow.
No.
So Dovi scored 1 podium that year and once again completely eclipsed Cal, who finished 13th that year. Dovi finished 5th overall.
Yeah. Like I say, we're not here to talk about the Brit, but not good at all.
No, a pretty bad year from Crutchlow. But like Dovi scoring that 1 podium, showing that 2013 was just a bad year. He's a bad year on a bad bike. As soon as the bike improves, Dovi can step it up and take it to the next level. Did Cal scored at least 1 podium on that bike? I think he should have scored 2, but he binned it in Phillip Island, was it? He crashed out second?
I think that's right, yeah. I can't remember exactly.
I remember the really good tussle. I just said we weren't going to talk about him, but here I am talking about him anyway. I remember that really good tussle between Aleix Espargaro and Cal Crutchlow to the line. When Aleix was on the Ford Yamaha, I think his only ever podium or something, and Crutchlow said he would have won, but he was so close to Aleix that he couldn't change gear. Like his foot was stuck on Aleix's bike, so he couldn't click up a gear to go, or click down a gear, I guess, on a race box.
Yes, down.
Yeah.
So, same as an inverted box, on a road bike. Yeah. Down, yeah. I had a thing there, I was like, That's what happens when you ride old British bikes. Everything's the wrong way around, so then you have to think double.
So your gears are on your right foot on your bike?
Yeah, gears are on my right foot, brakes on my left.
Oh, fuck that. That's too much.
All right.
2015. 2015 saw Cal piss off to LCR and saw Iannone join Andrea Dovizioso as a factory Ducati rider.
One of my favourite partnerships of all time, this.
Is it really?
I love Iannone as a rider. Everyone knows I love Iannone. And I just think the two together, because you've got this almost wild, arrogant Italian next to this calm, collected Italian.
A very un-Italian Italian. Like Dovi is not a classic Italian man, is he?
No, he's very reserved. Whereas then you get this young, outgoing, very, very
fiery.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I was then trying to think of the right way to put it. Fiery Italian comes along. I just thought it was brilliant. Sort of, when you see the two of them in the garage and you've got one who looks like he's just downed a pound of sugar and the other one looks like he is just needs waking up with 50 espressos. I just thought it was brilliant. I really did.
It's funny as well. I've literally just Googled Iannone 2015 because I wanted to see how young he looked, and oh my good lord.
Yeah, I know, it's bad hair.
He looks so young.
I know. That's the thing. Like, we only think, you think of like the last few years, and you get a picture of them, you start looking back, and you see how much they change in that time.
And we've all changed in that time, but we're not all photographed this much.
No, I start looking at my picture myself. I was like, damn, I didn't have grey hair back then.
I'm still at a point in my life, Steve, where I look back at pictures of me 5 years ago and I'm like, I definitely look better now than I did then.
I like to think I'm going that way, but I think I'm cusping it. As soon as I hit 40 in a couple of months, I'm going to be like, yeah, I look better.
That's okay. You're going to properly, you could silver fox it soon, mate.
I am. I'm going to, like, once we start growing the hair back, when Sarah starts coming back, I'm going to be like, yes, I'm going to go for the full bore quiff again.
I think you should go for a full ponytail in preparation for it being full silver one day.
That is the plan. We've got to wait till Sarah's treatment is completely finished, and then we're just going to grow our hair together.
Nice. That's going to be a fun game. I like that.
Yeah, shaved it together. So backstory here, I might as well tell everyone now. My partner has cancer, so she's lost all her hair for a treatment, so we shaved it together. So it didn't freak the kids out too much. So the plan has always been, when she gets off the treatment, we're going to go for it. We're going to go through the bad haircut stages together. Yeah,
it's going to be great. I can't wait.
I am really looking forward to the mullet.
Oh, it's going to be gold. I can't wait to see you two on Skype with your matching mullets and stuff. It's going to be good.
It is going to be awesome. I think she will probably pull it off far better than I will.
100% fact.
Yes.
There's no doubt in my mind which one of you is going to look better with a mullet, mate.
I might be rocking some choice hats for a while. But yeah, that is the plan. There will be a ponytail. I miss having a ponytail. I often look at your locks and I'm like, yeah, I miss my ponytail.
Yeah, I can't really commit to cutting mine off with you, sadly.
No, that is cutting the dreads off. I would be disappointed if you cut the dreads off.
Thanks, man.
Don't cut the dreads off. I want those in a wedding picture.
Yeah, that's fair. They'll still be there for the wedding, certainly.
Excellent. But back to the matter at hand.
Yes, so 2015, Iannone joined the squad. Dovi scored 5 podiums across the season, including one in the first race of the year at Qatar. He kind of set himself up because really Qatar is somewhere where I think like Dovi is good at Qatar. Like he's just going to be on the box is something that I think about it there. And yeah, he scored 5 podiums across the year and finished 7th overall. So again, another step up from his first year with Ducati, even from his second year with Ducati.
Yeah, you can already see a bit of an upward trend. It's starting to build.
Yeah, and actually I say upward trend. He finished 5th overall in 2014 and then 7th overall in 2015, but scored more points and more podiums on his way to doing it. I also went back and I had a little fun thing. I was looking at the pictures of Dovi and Iannone on their 2015 bikes, and I was like, shit, aero. I've forgotten. Like, if you look at every other bike in 2015, no aero at all. Look at the Ducati and the aero starting. And then I went through MotoGP bikes through the ages binge and just started looking at the aero. And oh my good lord, it sort of had baffled me how little aero there was on the old bikes.
There was nothing at all, was
it?
Not
weird.
Really.
It's weird how much, and it was such a talking point for the first 2015. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, what are these wings about? What the fuck is this?" And it was a talking point for 2 or 3 years.
It was. I mean, I can remember exchanging texts with you, and when Ducati first rolled out that aero, the shark mouth.
Oh, the hammerhead thing.
The hammerhead thing. That was the talking point.
It's funny because I literally Googled that. Because I as soon as I was like, fuck the aero, I was like, oh, what was that really cool one? If you were to look at my search history right now, I probably wouldn't let you. But if I was to give you a select version of my search history, you just see me searching just Ducati Aero and Ducati Hammerhead bikes for the last 3 days because I've just been like in awe of how amazing the Ducati Aero has been in the last few years.
It was insane. I can remember that first aero package coming out, and that was what everyone was waiting for it on the Friday. And they rolled out their bikes, and it had no aero on it. Mm-hmm. You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. It was like,
what? Was sat there like, what? Where's this aero? Then all of a sudden, Dovi brought out that bike with a hammerhead on it.
Yeah.
And it all exploded overnight, didn't it? Every social media page, every reporter, every content creator that is MotoGP orientated was just like, Ducati hammerhead.
Yeah.
And that sparked the aero revolution.
It certainly did. Ducati 100% sparked the aero revolution. If it wasn't for Gigi, if it wasn't for Ducati in 2015, it was even pre the Hammerhead. It was those big wings on the side, weird bits all over the place. If Ducati hadn't have done that, no one would have done it.
No, absolutely not. All of a sudden, Ducati caused this massive change where we saw a completely new bike rolled out. Aero started coming in. They started developing all these new things, which all of a sudden, like the brake shrouds, the underbelly scoop for wind deflection in the wet, and all of a sudden they just started influencing what is going to happen in MotoGP every single year.
They're always innovating something. If it's the whole shot device, like you just mentioned, the swinglet, they're just always innovating something, aren't they? Ducati under Gigi have just been the innovating force in motorcycle racing, because everything that comes from it starts in MotoGP, and you only have to look at World Superbikes to look at the what is there? Is it the Panigale V4? Is the Ducati there? That's covered in wings now. Like
it is.
It's everything has come from Gigi's mind and has just spread down through MotoGP, across MotoGP. Every team is now focusing on whole shot devices, on swinglets, on aero, and it's now dropped down into World Superbikes. It's in British Superbikes. Scott Redding's British Superbike winning bike from 2019 was covered in wings. Like, it's just spread through all of the series, and all from Ducati in MotoGP.
Yeah. When did Gigi go into that team? Was it 2014?
Oh, when did Gigi join Ducati? I don't know. I'm about to Google it. Gigi join Ducati. It was Ducati points Gigi to Linea in end of 2013. It looks like. So I imagine he would have been active for the 2014 season onwards.
Right. So he's taken, let's say, 2 seasons, assessed what they had, and has just come up with something completely new. Rolled out a new bike, rolled out a massive aero package. Obviously saw potential to go down a different road. And in the build-up from that aero package coming out, you've got, let's say, 2 years to the point where they were really, really not dominating, but challenging for the world title.
Certainly, yeah.
That's a massive turnaround from the torrid times that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, you think so? They would have signed him in the end of 2013 when Dovi was finishing in 8th and he was the top Ducati, not even scoring a podium. He started in 2014. Dovi gets 1 podium. To be fair, that first year, Gigi probably had very little input. He would have had input, but you don't have input on the next year's bike. That's just not how it works.
Not at that point.
But he was a very big part of getting rid of Cal, wasn't he, from the team? He didn't want Cal, he wanted another Italian, he wanted Iannone.
Yeah.
But then, 2015 is when it starts, like, boom, the aero starts coming in, Gigi's effects start coming in, and like you say, 2 years from then, they're a championship challenging bike.
Exactly.
It just shows the power, doesn't it, of having a good... And it's not even like... Because Gigi's job isn't an engineer. Gigi isn't there to... No one in leadership is there because they're good at an individual skill. They're good at being leaders. They're good at designating tasks and delegating and managing people and managing a team. That's what leaders are very good at. And Gigi is obviously a master at that. He allows a team to experiment in different directions and he'll probably let 3 or 4 guys just like piss off for a week to experiment on what shape spokes work best. And if it turns out they've got the best spokes, fair enough. Those 4 guys then just come back to the main team. However, if they find something, more of the main team go and join them and go and see what they can do. So I think Gigi, love him or hate him. And after watching the Undaunted documentary, I feel a bit conflicted because I think he might be a prick. But he is a master at leadership, without a doubt.
His job, basically, is to win Ducati the championship. And he's good at that. We can see.
Is he good at that? I mean, he's not managed that since he started, to be fair.
Let's say he is good at getting the best out of a bad situation.
Yes, he certainly... And he came from Aprilia, where he had won championships throughout multiple series in the past. Ducati poached him from Aprilia. Imagine if he was at Aprilia now. Their MotoGP effort, I'm sure, would be where Ducati are now.
Yeah, more than likely. And that shows you just how good a team principal can make a bike,
Yeah. Well, is he even team principal?
I don't know what his role is, but
I get a bit confused with Ducati. Who is their team principal? Is it Tardozzi? Is it
they've got like a sporting director, a mechanical director, and all sorts of bloody people. But
yeah,
I think
Dominicali. Like, I don't know. I get confused as to who's who in Ducati, and I probably could Google it now and look it up. But I think Ducati is such an enigma. It's just more fun to not know.
Yeah, just leave it there. I'll text him and find out.
I'm going to be really pissed if it turns out you've had his number this entire time.
I want speed dial, mate.
Yeah. You're still lost in the 90s with the speed dial there, mate.
Do we have speed dial anymore on these phones?
That's a good question. I was about to try it, but I'm using mine at the moment, so I can't, sadly.
Hang on. No, let's do it later.
You don't speed dial on 9, whatever you do, because that will be the emergency services.
Yeah, here's a story for you. Right, anyway.
Anyway, let's move it on to 2016. 2016.
Right, I'll tell you the tangent story at the end.
Oh, I thought that you would... No, carry on. Please tell me now. I thought you were saying, here's a story for you, as if you were talking to the police after accidentally speed dialing them. So.
Oh, no. We have a little story about the police.
Okay, I'm sitting back ready, mate.
And phones. Anyway, so we have kids, and they like to pick up your phone, and play. And we all know, if you, on modern phones, iPhones, Samsungs and all that, if you bang the lock screen button a few times, it will call the police.
Oh, no.
So anyway, also, on your lock screen, if you come up with your emergency call bit, you can call the police.
Yeah.
So anyway, Sarah's here one day, and I'm at work, and she rings me up, and she says, I've just had a phone call from the police. Because they've just had a 20-minute phone call from our 2-year-old son.
Oh, no.
Enzo has managed to call the police from the emergency lock screen on her phone, and it was only when he hung up that they called her back to make sure everything was all right.
Wow. Was he, talking to someone, or was he just, jabbering on, and he was just left in the corner?
And, of course, there's a voice on the other end, so he thinks it's great.
Oh, no, that's really funny.
So he's got Sarah's iPhone, and he's just blah, 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 blah. Couldn't probably talk at that point. And the phone's talking back to him, so he thinks it's beautiful, wonderful. This miraculous thing has happened that he has made happen. And then, he hangs up, and Sarah gets a phone call from the cops.
Oh, no, bless her. That's really funny. I guess they can't hang up. I don't know what the rules are, but I guess they're not allowed to hang up on you.
No, because there is the code thing, isn't there, where you can bang in 55 if you can't speak.
Is that real?
Yes.
Okay.
If you Google it, there is a whole combination of things that you can type in that mean different things.
Oh, that mean I can't talk right now. I'm trapped in a closet. Please help me.
Yeah, basically. So if you're being confronted, you can type in 55 and it means I can't talk.
But so it's funny, isn't it? Because if I was to phone, I'm sure I could get my phone to phone 999 in my pocket. But because everything's touchscreen now, I wouldn't know which buttons I'm hitting to type in a combo. In my old Nokia 3310, I could feel the buttons, and I could easily type in a combo in my pocket, but I couldn't do it now.
No, I think these are if you can get it to your phone. But that's the idea of the home screen lock one. If you bang it 5 times, it will call the police for you automatically. And I think if you've got your volume on, it does come up with a siren.
Yes, mine does. I think all I have to do is hold. You've got an iPhone as well, haven't you? I think all you have to do is hold a volume and a lock button, and you get a 5-second countdown, and then it starts at 3 seconds. I'll go whoop whoop whoop.
I have no idea, but all I know is I've done it before. I've tried to get the Apple Pay, and on the iPhone 12 you have to bang it twice, and it brings it up.
Yeah,
but I've banged it more times, and it starts going off.
Whoopsie.
Whoopsie-daisy. Yes. So that's the story. Yeah, Enzo called the cops.
Okay, good old Enzo, bless him. That'd be a fun one to say for his wedding one day.
Yeah, bloody boy. I'm still waiting for Brody to do it, because he picks up the phone and he's just banging numbers everywhere.
I wouldn't let him anywhere near a new iPhone, mate.
He's not too bad. He does keep hold of it. The only thing I find dangerous with the new iPhone is that the Face ID works from a long way off. So if he's sat on your lap, or he's sat next to you, and he brings it up and points it at you, he can unlock it.
That's a good question, actually. I mean, we're still going off on a bit of a tangent here. But does your Face ID work with glasses on and off?
Yes.
Ah, clever.
So if I pick it up, it actually works I've got a full headphones set up with a mic on it, opens up.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas if I take the whole lot off as well...
Oh, we've got in a demonstration here. Can't even hear me talk because he's full on demonstrating.
Still works.
Oh, there it is.
So,
Amazingly, your microphone is good enough that I could hear you talk perfectly, even while your headphones weren't on.
To be fair, these are, again, I'm a big advocate of gaming mics. So I wear a full headset when Tim and I record with a connected mouthpiece, which I can mute. But they're insane. They really are good. The volume on it, the clarity of it, because I've got the surround sound on. The only thing I don't like about over-ears mics as a glasses wearer is they press only glasses.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I get a lot of like crunchy noises. I don't know if you guys can hear it at home. As I move, it rubs on my glasses.
No, we get none of that. All of it's through your mic. The only problem is, like, even though I get really good mic quality, and I think the sound quality from you is pretty good, but because it's coming through the internet, through Skype, and then I'm recording at this end, it does drop it a little bit compared to what I'm hearing. I try and edit it back up to what I'm sort of hearing.
That's long distance recording for you, though, isn't it? It's going through a lot of. It's going through the ether, if we should say.
That's it. It's what it is, isn't it? Like, and to be fair, even if I was in Norfolk right now, we wouldn't be able to record anyway because lockdowns. So I'd just be either trying desperately to make my Wi-Fi at home work, or I'd just be sitting outside your house in the car hooked up to your Wi-Fi.
We've done that before. First lockdown, we to be fair, we did push the lockdown rules quite a bit.
Well, I came and sat in your garden while you had your door open.
Exactly. We were technically, you were not in the house.
Yeah. You were in the house. I think I was in the garden.
Yeah, we were about, 4 or 5 metres apart. And you sat at the garden table.
It would have been a pretty epic sneeze to get you from there.
Yeah, you were just close enough to make full use of the Wi-Fi without technically breaking the rules.
That's it. So let's not incriminate ourselves anymore. Let's move on to 2016.
Let's go.
2016. So, yeah, it was a long tangent, that one.
That was a good one.
2016 saw Dovi finish 5th overall, still with Ducati, obviously. Finished 5th overall, finally took another win. He took a win in Malaysia to make it his second ever win, 7 years after his first win in MotoGP.
That's a long time.
A really long time. Probably should have won at the Red Bull Ring. I say should have won. Ducati did win, and Ducati were the favourites. And it was a weird thing with Red Bull Ring, wasn't it? Because I remember this happening, and I remember everyone being like, oh, this is Ducati track. This is Ducati track. Ducati are going to crush it here. And at the time, I kind of got behind that. And I was like, oh, the pundits are saying Ducati are going to crush it here. It's going to be great. And now I look back on it, I'm like, why the fuck? And I know Ducati did crush it there. But Ducati hadn't won anywhere for 7 years. Not 7 years, sorry. At this point, 6 years.
Yeah.
Why did we think Ducati were going to win there? Like, why did we believe anyone when they told us? They were right, but I don't know why we believed them, because it seems to me now, if you told me, like, Aprilia were going to go, and nah, Aprilia's a bad example, but the only factory that's not a winning factory on the grid right now, so I have to use them. If you told me Aprilia were going to go win, are we going to any new tracks next year?
No. Well, we potentially have Finland.
Finland, yes. And not Indonesia yet, right? That'll be the following year.
That'll be the following year. As long as COVID doesn't muck everything up, we should have full bore Finland, which will be epic.
Yeah, so if you told me Aprilia were going to go win at Finland, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Of course they're not going to do that. But at the time, everyone was talking about it, and we all got on board with it. And then Ducati did go and win there, and actually they scored a 1-2, and I remember Ian only winning because he put the soft tyres on, whereas Dovi had the mediums, and the soft tyres held out, basically. And I remember Dovi being quite upset about it. But then he went on to win in Malaysia, so it's fine. Ducati won 2 races that year. Quite a momentous year for Ducati. Big year for Dovi. Where are we here? But overall, I think he had quite a bad season, didn't he?
He didn't have a good season, no. Overall, he didn't really have a good season at all.
No. Wiped out by Iannone in Argentina. Wiped out by Pedrosa in Austin, and had some mechanical failures in Jerez. I think all of the times he was running in a podium position.
That seems to be like a feature of Dovi's career, is getting wiped out by other people.
Dovi gets wiped out a lot, doesn't he?
He has a lot of bad luck. When you start looking at it, because we watched that Undaunted, and it showed you the 2019 off at Silverstone.
Oh my God, I had completely forgotten about that until I saw it happen. I was like, whoa, this is massive.
So it was at Silverstone, and that is when was it? Quartararo binned it.
Yeah, it was Quartararo,
and just wiped out Dovi's bike, wiped out Dovi, and Dovi.
Well, it wasn't even that, was it? It was Dovi kind of motocrossed up and over his bike and launched over the top of it, didn't he?
He did a yak of cornflower, but just didn't land it.
Exactly that. Do you know what? I'm sort of tempted to go back and listen to our episode from that race because I can't. At the time, I watched it on the Undaunted documentary. I was like, "Whoa! I don't remember that happening at all." I feel like we would have talked about that loads.
But that's my whole point about how you forget stuff that's happened, because we've had you think about what happened last year, and it just completely eclipses the year before.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, those things, we're not in the paddock all the time. It's not what we do all the time. We have other stuff going on. So you do forget stuff. And like features like that, we suddenly start watching a docu-film. And it's like, shit, I'd forgotten about this. And just how big of an event it was. Because like Dovi's bike caught fire, set fire to the air fence. And we saw him stretch it off.
Massive crash.
Oh, it was huge. And I've forgotten like the injury he picked up from that, where they said like how bruised he was. How battered, how bad of a concussion he had, and they didn't want him to fly.
Yeah, and in that Undaunted documentary, they're saying like they're talking about it as if like, oh yeah, if you fly, your liver could rupture and you might die.
Yeah. They were saying they found cysts on his liver, which they don't know were part of the crash or not.
Yeah,
you're like, Jesus Christ, that ramifications from that one little mistake are huge.
Yeah, that's it. But that was 2019, and this is still 2016.
Yes.
So we'll wind it back, and I'm sure we'll get back to that 2019 crash.
Right.
But we'll wind it back. And 2016 is the year where Jorge Lorenzo signs for Ducati. It was quite an interesting time. We saw a lot of Rossi being like, no one will go to Ducati. He's not brave enough to go to Ducati. And then he goes to Ducati because essentially, whether he wants to admit it or not, Rossi did manipulate him into it.
He did.
And it was a master stroke from Rossi, once again doing what Rossi does best. When he was no longer the fastest man on track, he was the fastest mind in the room.
Exactly. A lot of tacticians at work there.
Certainly. So we end up with this scenario. We don't know who's going to stay with Ducati for 2017 onwards. Is it going to be Iannone? Is it going to be Dovi? There's a lot of talk it might be Iannone. Iannone is faster. On raw pace, he is a quicker rider. But he's just not as consistent. He cannot keep it rubber side down. He's crashing all of the time. I remember that year. I remember at Le Mans was the crash. And he was coming down. I think it was coming down La Chapelle. And he wiped out, and I remember thinking as he done it, fuck it, that's it, he's done. He's never going to stay at Ducati. The next race weekend, Dovi is announced as the guy who's going to stay on.
I can remember us talking about that at the time, and we were like, that's it, that's done it.
Yeah.
That crash has literally sealed his career at Ducati.
Yeah.
And then, what was it, not even a week later, it was the deal was announced.
Yeah.
Dovi's staying, he's going.
That's it, and Iannone was off to Suzuki.
Yeah, and that was his trouble. Iannone was just too
crashy.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think he reined a lot of that in later on. His Suzuki career, he reined a lot of that in. He wasn't anywhere near as crashy.
No,
and then with Aprilia, fuck knows, it was just a year. We're sort of over that year.
Yeah. I mean, what did he have? 17 and 18 at Suzuki, and whatever the hell happened in 2019 at Aprilia. Yeah,
exactly. So Dovi had actually a really consistent season overall in 2016. Like we said, he finished 5th overall, and it was just a good stepping stone. Ducati made a good step forward, Dovi made a good step forward, and then they were going to be like, right, now we've got Lorenzo, so let's go, let's do this. I think Ducati were looking at like, we've got Lorenzo, we can win a title now. And Dovi was looking at it, I imagine, as I've got to beat Lorenzo next year.
Yeah, that was his goal. If you can't win the championship, your goal is always to beat a teammate. And they brought in this guy who's like, 3-time MotoGP champion.
Yeah.
Brought him in. Obviously, big smiles on the face. Spent some big bucks to get him there.
The pay difference between... I think the pay disparity between them was massive. I feel like Lorenzo was on something like 20 million a year, or was the contract worth 25 million over 2 years, maybe?
I think it was over 2 years. I don't think it was a year. I think it was over 2 years. But even so, it was a huge difference.
And I think Dovi might have been on 10% of what Lorenzo was on at the time.
Yeah.
It was a huge disparity between the two.
Yeah. And you're sold, if anything, come 2017, you're only out to beat him.
100%.
Yeah, you only had to beat him, which he did.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Which moves us quite nicely on, actually.
Yes, so 2017, Dovi won in Mugello. I think it was Mugello. Yeah, it must have been Mugello. Becoming the first Italian Italian rider.
Jonathan.
Thank you. That's a very British-centric reference there. That's probably alienated 3/4 of our audience.
Sorry, people.
So, yeah, he won in Italy, becoming the first Italian rider on an Italian bike to win an Italian GP. It was also his first ever dry MotoGP win. It's only his third MotoGP win ever, and it's the first one in the dry. And then, what does he go and do? A week later, boom, Catalonia, here we are. Done it again, one in the dry. Dovi is bossing it.
This is the year where everyone woke up and were like, shit.
This is the year.
Could happen.
Yeah, and this is the year I woke up and went, shit, Dovi is really, really good. Like, I saw him beat Crutchlow. I really rated Crutchlow. Part of me thinks that's because I'm a Brit and he was He was also a Brit, so I'm like, I kind of have to back him. That's the way it is. But I did really rate him. Dovi annihilated him twice. Actually, we were teammates. But it wasn't until 2017 where I was like, whoa, this is the year Dovi stood out for me. But maybe if I'd known the history that we've just discussed with Dovi up until the Premier class, he had a history that suggested he could do this and said he would do this.
He did, and this is getting back to a point of not following the careers fully from start to finish just because you can't or haven't got the time. All of a sudden you start seeing the potential which came in 2017, and we look back over the number of years he'd been in the grid, and you just start to realise how long it took for that man to shine.
Certainly, and a lot of that is it took him a long time to get to the right machinery and build a team around him that he could grow with, and he could push along in front of him or pull along with him is probably more the point.
But that wasn't the end of it either, was it?
Not that year, no. He won again in Austria, where he'd lost out to Iannone the year previously. He pushed it at Silverstone, won again there, being his second GP win in Great Britain. The first one at Donington, but this one's Silverstone. And then again in Japan, and again in Malaysia. He took 6 wins that year, finished second overall to Marc Marquez. And I think he pushed Marquez all the way to Valencia, didn't he? Marquez... Now, if we're going to look on this realistically, the record books show, if you just look at the raw numbers, the record books show that Dovi pushed Marquez all the way to Valencia. Realistically, Marquez's engine blew up at Silverstone from first place. So Marquez would have been 25 points ahead. Dovi would have been 5 points behind where he was, and Marquez would have sealed it before Valencia. But as it happened, he didn't. Honda lost an engine, and Dovi took it all the way to Valencia.
What a season. And everyone started to wake up and think, right, if he could do it this season, next year is the year.
Certainly. I think that... I can't remember when we started doing this show, man. But I think we did 2017.
We did do 2017. We started talking aero. I want to say we've been doing this now for coming into our 6th year.
Are we really? I know the first couple of years were pretty inconsistent, were they? It was a lot of us kind of recording every month or so and just talking about 3 or 4 races at the same time. And I've lost a lot of those early episodes. I don't know where they are. They've kind of got lost to the internet somewhere.
I'm pretty sure we started this in mid-2015.
Wow, that feels like ages ago. It
does.
Wouldn't have been mid-2015. Mid-2015, I was in Southeast Asia, and then 2016, I think it might have been the end of 2016.
Really?
We started doing this, yeah.
Because I was talking to you about aero, about the Hammerhead aero.
Yeah, when did the Hammerhead aero come in? Because that didn't come in like 2015. I think that might have been. Let me have a look to see when that came in.
So we could be coming into year 5, let's say.
Yeah, it would be around that, I would guess. Let's have a look at the dates on here. 2017 was the Hammerhead aero.
So it was 16. We definitely started in 16 then.
Yeah, so it would have been some point in that 2016 season we would have started.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that feels like a while ago. And we've lost a lot of those early episodes. I've just got nothing of where
Just
they've gone.
happens.
I mean, it's probably for the best, actually. I don't really want to go back and listen to them.
I think about now how we used to do it, and I can remember we used to sit on the sofa and we'd have the race on in the background, talking about that race, and there'd be massive, massive pauses while we were watching the race.
Yeah, I remember a lot of that.
And it was basically us getting drunk and just being quiet and then talking about the last 5 minutes of the race.
That pretty much covered it. We almost did like an in-time commentary with what was going on, didn't we, with what we were seeing?
Yeah, basically. I don't think there was any set format, was there? We just spoke about each race as it went out.
That was exactly it.
Yeah. And it was just like, Tim's here, let's have a few beers, let's talk MotoGP.
Yeah.
I remember having to desperately record everything on the telly, booting Sarah out somewhere. Because we were licking the living room. Yeah. And we just basically sat on my sofa having a few beers talking about MotoGP. So pretty much what we do now.
But now we have a format for the show.
Now we have a format, and we're slightly older, and we like to think we're slightly better.
I think the show is much better as a whole.
The show is a lot better.
Whether I think I'm any better or not, I'm probably not. I think I'm just better at talking now than I was before. I don't think I'm any more knowledgeable about MotoGP at all.
No, I think our skills are sort of like, should we say, are we presenters? Are we hosts? What are we?
Hosts.
The hosts. Yeah, we don't present it. We're not presenting the show. We're hosts of the show. I think our hosting skills have definitely got better, and our interaction together has definitely got better.
I think that's certainly true. There's definitely less of the pauses. And now, I remember in the early episodes, we used to just cut over each other a lot and we'd both see talking. And now I still cut over you a lot. And you do cut over me sometimes as well, but not as much as I do. But one of us will just shut up and let the other one talk now. Whereas before, we just used to go.
I think that is just like, before we started doing this, we used to just chat in the pub, don't we?
That's exactly it. Yeah.
On a Thursday evening, we'd be in the pub so we could have a conversation and there'd be a lot going on in the background. And we used to just chat. We'd have a few beers and we'd end up half cut, as we do now.
I was going to say, I still do that now, to be fair.
We pretty much still do that now. But we would just chat over each other, just putting our points across. And I think we had not conflicting, but different views at the start. I think we still do now, which is what makes us quite good because we have both sides of that parallel to chat about. But our skills as working together as hosts have definitely got a lot better.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
Because I think it was harder when we did a few Skype recordings I think you were in South America without picture.
Yes.
So it's quite hard to judge when the next one was going to speak, jump in, because now I can just watch you and we know. But back then it was like, oh, sorry mate. We'd just cut each other off. But now it's just like, you've got a point to put across, I've got a point to put across, and we just know when to shut up and let the other one go.
Yeah, that's it. I think we're much smoother now than we were, definitely. And I just think the show's a bit better now.
The more we do it, the more I enjoy it, the more I look forward to it.
Yeah, that's fair.
And, every year we're like, we're going to keep doing it. Hell yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
It's MotoGP. Let's keep talking about it.
That's it. Right. So,
where the hell were we?
We were still talking about 2017. Finished second overall to Marquez. Dovi had a couple of really banging races against Marquez that year. The wet race in Japan was a cracking example of this, where he started to build this reputation for just being able to beat Marquez in last lap, last corner duels. And that reputation is still kind of there. If I saw Dovi and Marquez within a tenth of each other going on to the final lap, I'd put my money on Dovi every time.
Absolutely, because people started saying he could out Marquez.
Yeah, he's just not consistent enough.
No, if he could do it every single race, just get close enough and be there in that last corner, because that was Marquez's skill, out performing someone into the last corner.
Yeah.
Dovi is the only one that we've seen who could do it regularly, but not so consistently.
Yes.
If he was consistently doing it, then he would beat him hands down every race. But at the minute, or as we saw that year, he started to get the reputation, and then it just, should we say, peters away.
Yeah, well, I don't think the reputation peters away. I think the reputation's still there.
The ability to do it.
That's the problem, isn't it? Because through 2018, through 2019, he's still there, and you're still saying if they come in close to each other near the last corner, Dovi's going to take this. I think out of last corner duels, it's something like Dovi's taken 7 or 8 of them. Marquez has taken maybe 1, maybe 2.
Yeah.
Like Dovi's got a really good success rate. But Dovi needs to be there on the last corner, and he's not consistently been there. That's his problem going forwards.
is better over the entire race, I would say. He's got the ability to just blast off into the different distance.
Without a doubt.
But Dovi's qualifying has always been worse. So he's got the experience of fighting through the pack, elbowing people out of the way, whereas Marquez is just off at the front. And we know Marquez can fight from the back, so we've seen him where he's elbowed people off. Whereas Argentina, where he had to start from the back of the grid. And we know he can fight his way through the grid. We know he can elbow people out of his way, but he's not doing it every single race.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And we saw it in Undaunted where Ross, Christ's sake, you want to say Rossi, Dovi was qualifying 11th, 13th, 7th, and is having to fight his way consistently through the pack.
Yeah, and still putting it on the box. Like, imagine what he could have done that year if he'd just on the front row, qualified on the front row every single race.
Yeah. That's been sort of a measure of Dovi's career most of the time, is where he just doesn't qualify consistently.
Yeah.
But he can fight his way through and end up on the podium like a demon.
Yeah.
And it's just, if he could have sorted that qualifying out, and he would have had the opportunity to fight with Marquez so much more.
Certainly, and I think he may have won a championship out of it if he'd been able to qualify on the front row every time. Yeah, I think 2017 or 2018 probably could have taken the championship.
Absolutely. That leads us on to nicely a 2018 where everyone has so much expectation on Dovi.
Yeah, exactly. Dovi took it to Valencia in 2017. He took 6 wins that year. I think it was 6, something like that. 6 or 7 wins that year, and it was just it was a breakout year for him. And it was a breakout year for him from fans like me, and I guess also you, like you've said, like you weren't following the lower classes at this point. It's the year that you're like, whoa, we saw what he could do in 2016. And 2017 was like, the fuck, he really can do this. Like, why couldn't he do this before? And he was hampered by shitty machinery before for 4 years or whatever it was.
Exactly.
And when he had a decent bike in the Repsol Honda, sadly, his teammates were Danny Pedrosa, they were Casey Stoner, he was racing against Jorge Lorenzo. Like, you can't blame anyone for not being able to beat 3 of the fastest guys that have ever swung a leg over a MotoGP bike.
No, someone's got to finish 4th, and just, unfortunately, it was number 4. Or 04.
Quite. That's it. So 2018 saw him actually have quite a disappointing year compared to 2017. 4 wins across the season, finished 2nd behind Marquez, but it was nowhere near as close.
No, this is, to me, he peaked in 2017.
100%, and he peaked because no one expected him to be able to do it. As soon as we expected him to be able to do it, he disappointed us, I think.
Yes, he comes out in 2018, he has 4 wins, like say, finishes 2nd overall. But he's further back, and everyone was like, crap year. Yeah. Crap year. And everyone at that point was like, right, next year the Ducati will improve. He'll do it next year. We still had high hopes. But 2019 rolls down.
I think he was my favourite going into 2019.
I think he was. I think he was a lot of people's favourites. Because although Marquez had won in 2018, we got used to him winning by this point and running away with it. And everyone was, we'd seen such a great shot from Ducati and Dovi in 2017. Everyone was like, right, he's had a crap year. No one expected it in 2017. It was just a one-off. They'll build, they'll learn. Yeah. In 2019, rolls round. And again, it's dropping away. We used to end up seeing him with 2 wins.
Yes, that's exactly it. He scored 2 wins and 7 podiums that year?
Yeah. Again, like you say, he took 2nd place in the championship again, but he's even further back.
Yes, so he's dropped kind of further behind every single time, isn't he?
And all of a sudden, that downwards curve has started to flow in. And it's just that slippery slope. Marquez has stood at the top with his bottle of shampoo, just lubing up the hill.
That's pretty much a good description of it, because that's exactly what happened. And we move on to, I guess that brings us quite comfortably to 2020, in which we saw Marquez go out. And you go, wow, in the last 3 years, like, Dovi should take this. Yeah.
He's the only one. Sorry.
The only one that's been able to challenge him, the only one that's been able to take the race to Marquez and to beat him in his last lap of duels. But 2020 rolls around, Marquez isn't there. Dovi wins 1 race, scores 1 podium, and finishes 1 more podium, and finishes 4th overall in the standings.
Job done. Career over.
But it wouldn't be. It will. I mean, I'm sure someone would have signed him. But yes, his career is, for all intents and purposes, unless Honda go radical, and as we've discussed previously, throw out another 3-bike team, which would just be a weird mind fuck of everything of the last. It would really perfectly sum up the last 10 years of me watching MotoGP. If the last year of Dovi in MotoGP is exactly the same as 10 years ago, the first time I watched MotoGP with Dovi riding in a 3-bike Repsol Honda team, it would be a really nice finish for his career, for me personally.
Just don't wake up one morning and think, am I still in that bed?
I think I would very easily be able to tell that I'm not still in that bed.
there'd be quite a few differences, trust me.
Exactly. I think the moment I could get myself out of the bed, I would realise I was not in the same state as I was in 10 years ago.
10 years, man, that's gone quick.
It's fucking flown, mate. It's been a while, 10 years.
It's been a hell of a ride for you.
That's it. And it's been quite a ride for Dovi as well.
It has been quite a ride for Dovi. We've seen a slow up and a very, very quick down.
It has sort of felt like that, hasn't it? It peaked in 2017 and it's just been downhill since then.
You think he joined MotoGP? When did he join MotoGP again?
2008.
2008. So you think it took him 9 years to, let's say, peak?
Yes.
And then 3 years to fold.
And then it's done, yeah. And maybe we will see him again, but I'm not convinced we will.
Will we see him again?
I don't know. What do you guys think at home? Let us know. Do you think we'll see Dovi riding again next year?
I think we will, but not in the MotoGP paddock.
Oh, okay. So you're going to go a bit out there, a bit left field, and just say we'll see him somewhere else. I don't think we'll see him. I think if he doesn't get a MotoGP ride next year, I think he's done. I think that's it. I think he's over. And by the fact that I've decided to talk about him first in our Goodbye to the Riders show, or series of shows, I'm not convinced he'll be back on the grid next year. I think he would be a good idea for Repsol Honda if they can't get Mark back on that bike straight away. But I think he's done. I think he's tried. I think he gave it his all. He very nearly did it. And then I think he can go with his head held high. He's won a world championship. He's finished second to Marc Marquez. He's not just finished second to anyone. He's not like finished second to Tito Rabat 3 years in a row, has he? He's finished second to Marc Marquez, like arguably the greatest motorcycle rider of all time. There's no shame in his career. He's had a great career.
He is the only one, should we say, apart from Jorge Lorenzo, who beat him, to really, really push Marquez. No one else. Rossi didn't do it.
I mean, in that year that Jorge won the championship, Rossi also beat Marquez that year, to be fair.
But he did, yeah. But consistently over the next few years, Dovi's the only one to really, really push him. And consistently push him. 1 year, let's say, the others beat him. Dovi's done it, pushed him consistently for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
None of the others have done that. He's got no shame what he's done. He's a multi-time champion. He's stuck. The reasons for him leaving are maybe a bit of
one-time world champion, to be fair.
One-time world champion, yeah. The reasons for him leaving the paddock are probably stubborn morality, but who could blame him? I think we will see him in a very obscure kind of role in the paddock, or we will see him on some kind of national championship riding motocross.
I'm sort of... motocross, definitely. I don't think he's going to do any road racing on a motorbike again. I think he'll be done. I think he might do car racing. He has done car racing in the past. I think he's raced a DTM event. But I don't think...
riders seem to do that now, but...
yeah.
I'm not sure. I can't see taking a year off from MotoGP. Even people talk about this year off affecting Marquez.
Yeah, 35 years old or something. You can't take a year off MotoGP and expect to come back and be one of the quickest guys. You can't do it.
Not at this level.
He's done. He's done. No. Unless he signs with Repsol Honda to cover whatever Marquez can't do next year, he's out, and that's it, I think.
Yeah, unless he's going to come in for injury cover. He ain't coming back.
Yeah, so he might do the odd one-off Stefan Bradl type job, but I don't think it's going to be more than that. He's not going to come back for another title challenge, I don't think.
No, that is that done. So, yeah.
But we might be wrong. Guys at home.
Well wrong. He could be working on something right now.
Well, exactly. So what do you guys at home think? Do you think he'll race again? Do you think he'll challenge for a title again? Do you think he'll beat Marc Marquez again? Do let us know. And you can find us on...
We are For the Love of MotoGP. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter, or look us up on Facebook. We have a Facebook page there. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, or email us at fortheloveofmotogp@gmail.com.
That's it. So let us know whether you think Dovi will race again. Let us know whether you think our opinions are wrong or my opinion is wrong and Steve's right. Just let us know.
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa, but I feel like that's unlikely. And I think that's it for us, Steve, isn't it?
I think that's quite a long show.
It's a fucking long show. If any of you guys have got to the end once again, I'm very impressed.
Some people do. We know and we salute you.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, drop us the secret password that we will put a little further down the line. So see if you really do listen to the very end.
Don't be suggesting secret passwords to people, because then they will listen to the end and it's just going to upset them when there's no password.
You're just going to hear me going, ha ha.
Right, so let's call it there. It's very nearly going to be a 2-hour show, and I don't really want to put people through that. So please, guys, thank you for listening. We will be bringing you shows all year. Probably, if everything goes to plan, it'll be every single week this year. We're going to try and do an entire year bringing you a weekly show.
Amazing.
We've never managed it before. We might manage it this year. Who knows? Join us on this amazing journey and let's see what happens.
It's going to be quite a wild ride.
We're going to be locked down for a lot of it, and there's going to be a lot of just bullshitting back and forth with me and Steve getting drunk and talking.
We are going to have to make up some bullshit to talk about.
Quite. We'll start working on the rumour mill now, Steve. Don't worry.
That was where I was then going. I was like, this down after this. And
I can see you writing your notes already.
I have got a notepad right next to me. And I'm writing shit down.
So guys, please do us a solid, leave us a rating, leave us a review wherever you're listening. It really helps us, and it just makes us feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside. And really, what more do you want in life than feeling warm and fuzzy on the inside?
It does make us feel warm and fuzzy.
So, thank you all very much for listening, guys. Let's ride out this new year 2021 together. So look after yourselves, stay safe, fist bumps, elbow bumps, and remember, mask it or casket, guys.
Stay safe, people. Take care.
Music is by Andrew Greenwood. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.